Okay, so this is primarily a historic video, so if you're in it for the cemeteries and the graveyards, you probably just want to skip to the next one, because this is where we go to Lockville Canal Park. And we start talking about some of the locks that are here. There's 11, 12, and 13. We're primarily interested in the Erie Canal. First of all, it's insane what it was. Essentially, it was like what we would use the railroad for, or the highways now. Back in the day, they didn't have a means of transportation, and traveling by carriage was faster. When they actually did by wagon, it was actually faster. But the reality is, it's very expensive. It took a lot of resources, took a lot of people, took horses. So they built the Erie Canal, which went from all the way north to all the way south to the Ohio River. And they were able to transport things very quickly, and really open up the economic world for people. And all along the Erie Canal, all these towns sprouted up. And so we're very interested in that. And that's a lot of where our cemetery research comes from, is we follow the Erie Canal. And we see where these old places are, because that's where the pioneers were. That's where the people made some of the first settlements. So we're very interested in the Erie Canal, very interested in the history of the Erie Canal. And so here we are, Lockville Canal Park. And I want to show you really quick, if I can get it in frame here. There is actually a covered bridge here, and I'm just going to read you the little blurb. It's the Hartman No. 2 covered bridge, built in 1888 by Jacob Blue Jeans Brandt or William Funk, using the Queen Post Truss, and is 48 feet long. It was moved to this location in 1967. Originally, it was the Wheeling Road over Raccoon Creek or Pleasant Run east of Lancaster. So I will give you a better, closer look to that as we move forward. And about the locks, here behind me, you can see the remnants of Lock 11. So what a lock is essentially a hydraulic elevator for boats. And I think it's credited to Da Vinci, who was the one who came up with, I think it's Da Vinci. I'm not really sure. I'll have to confirm that. But I think Da Vinci was the one who came up with the idea. So essentially, a boat would float into the lock. They would close off both sides. They'd fill it with water, and they'd raise it so that it could go on and move forward at a different elevation. So it's essentially an elevator for boats. And here you can see Wendy is down there in what used to be the Erie Canal. And here we're going to get closer to this lock. Let me flip you and really see it. Really neat that this is preserved. Like I said, there are 3 locks here, so that you can actually come here and check them out and see how large they are. Really neat. There's a lot of history in these walls, and imagine being on a boat with all of your, booze or cloth or food, whatever it is that you're hauling, and you come to this lock, and a lot of times they were horse-drawn along the Erie Canal. There's one of your Trump trucks in the background, I guess. Anyway, the horses would draw them down the canal smoothly. They'd get into these locks, they'd shut the 2 sides, and they'd lift up. So anyway, we're going to walk this way, check out this bridge, and check out some of the other locks. Let's give you a little quick scan of this bridge here. Again, this is original to 1888. Not original to this location, obviously, because I don't think many boats were going underneath that. But I'm going to come up here and show you inside. So the Hartman No. 2 covered bridge, and you can see the trusses in there, and look how crazy. Can you imagine 1888 building this over a little area so that you could drag your wagons and your carts through? She might be afraid she's gonna fall through. Wendy has decided that we should have a hootenanny on the bridge, because you can actually reserve this for your special event. So if you've ever dreamed of getting married on a covered bridge, I suppose you can make that happen. Or, like birthdays, funerals, graduation. I don't know. What kind of event is appropriate for a covered bridge? I'm not really sure. But anyway, we're walking towards lock number 12 while we're making this pleasant little walk on a nice November day. It's important to note that, a lot of the Erie Canal has been erased. It's just gone. Like Canal Winchester, for instance. It kind of smacked me in the face a few days ago when we were talking about this, but Canal Winchester is actually named after the Erie Canal. Funny how that works, huh? And there is no evidence of the Erie Canal and Canal Winchester. So it's just kind of sad to see a lot of this history being lost. And I mean, it makes sense. You know, when the trains came around, there was no reason to keep the locks, or no reason to keep the Erie Canal. By what, 1902, I think the last ship had sailed down the canal. So really sad to see the history lost, but that's, you know, kind of the reality of America, quite honestly. It's not a lot of, we don't have a lot of history that goes back, and the history that we do have is either rewritten or not kept. So it's pretty clear that Lock 12 is not the star of the show like Lock 11. That's in the direct amount of the park. It's really deteriorated quite a bit and probably a little unsafe, to be quite honest. Some of these stones weigh quite a bit, but still a really neat thing to see. And to give you the scale, there's Wendy walking through. Really cool thing to be able to see and to be able to be a part of. I mean, just think about the engineering required to do this. I mean, there just wasn't anything like it back then. I mean, in America. There's certainly locks in plenty of places prior to America. Contrary to popular belief, we are not the greatest country on the earth sometimes. Let's go over here and see what this is. Not really sure how these worked. It'd be interesting. That book that we have, there's Wendy. It'd be interesting to look back in that book and see kind of a bit of information about how these actually worked. And way down there is the other lock. So we were just talking about how where Wendy's walking up, you can see this kind of flattened area. And that was very likely the tow path where the horses would actually tow the boats down the Erie Canal. So not to be a total creep, but right here next to the locks, here's the lock. Coming right over here, there's a house right here. And the foundation of this house indicates that it's probably roughly the same era as the lock. So I don't know who lives there, but they are living in a very old house with a lot of history. So here we are at Lock 13. Again, these are essentially giant boat elevators, which is pretty cool. It'd be really neat to see one of these things in action. And I'm sure YouTube has plenty of videos of active ones that you can actually see. Some modern center blocks down here. I'm sure somebody just threw those here. Anyway, Lock 13. So if you know me specifically, you know that I'm also kind of a plant nerd, and I love moss so much. But look at this cute little tree trying to grow here. Not gonna last. A pretty gnarly little spider house. This is why Wendy and I are friends, and we don't have many other friends, because we like things like plants and history and cemeteries. So, you know, the discussion about why locks were necessary. So when they built the Erie Canal, it's not a natural waterway. So a lot of times they would have to cross distances. There's Wendy getting some good pictures. They'd have to cross distances that were potentially uphill. And again, that's also why they needed horse-drawn, because there wasn't necessarily water flow that would move the cargo barges down the water. So when you talk about these being essentially stairs or elevators for boats, you can see here that this is actually quite a bit deeper than the other ones, because we're at the lower end of this elevation. So as we go further up the elevation, they tend to get shorter because the boats need to be raised less distance. So this one's quite a bit higher than the other ones. So I was walking around to get a picture of something, and I just happened to notice how many weed whackers do you need? That seems excessive. That seems like an excessive amount of gas weed whackers. And look, there's all parts over there. What is going on in this house? Okay, I'm down here on the ground because Wendy told me there was something over here that really needed to be seen. And had to take a break for the weed whacker. So here, built July 1882 or 62? It looks like 1862. Yeah, it does look like 62. So it has the foreman on there, the stonemason. That was probably not the only stonemason, but whoever was at the head of that. Be really nice to get up there, and it's probably white marble, so if we had some D2, we've been talking about carrying it with us, it'd be really cool to clean that up and be able to read what that says there, but not gonna happen today. Okay, so one of the other reasons Wendy and I like hanging out together is we have sort of the same thought processes about things. And here we have a trailer, I think, that has like a little shed attached to it, and the windows are open, and the fan's blowing out. There's also like a generator noise coming from it. That is definitely a murder shack. I don't know what else you would use that for. I certainly wouldn't want to live in it. I'm sure somebody does. I'm sure I'm being completely insensitive to the rural plight, but murder shack. Okay, so we noticed some water over here, and before, I didn't videotape it, but we were having a discussion about how it really looked like there was part of the Erie Canal over here. And sometimes the locks were actually part of a system that took you to another canal or another waterway, although this is looking more like a pond. But it's entirely possible this was part of another canal system that was right next to this canal lock, and that you actually were coming off of that canal system to rise up through these locks. So, don't really know. The book that we have might tell us, or it might be lost, or we actually have I think an 1862 atlas or 72 atlas that I just got printed off because we're nerdy like that. But anyway, so maybe that'll tell us. Okay, so maybe not a murder shed, drug shed? Not sure. The mystery continues. Hey, friends.
Oh, look at that cute little rooster.
I know, he's fronting. Hi, friends. This is also why Wendy and I are friends, because we get stuck on stuff like this. So anyway, if you come to the, hey, excuse me, I'm talking. If you come to the Lockville Park, you can actually get some fresh eggs for a really good price. If you're interested. Hey, friends. Okay, we're heading back to the car. I'm going to go ahead and close this now almost 13-minute video that probably nobody will watch with chickens and gunshots.